Well, hope everyone's doing okay this evening. I'm looking out my window. It's about to storm really badly, so hopefully my connection doesn't get messed up with everything. But anyway, I wanted to say thanks again for allowing me to share my knowledge and everything on the platform here with you guys. It's crazy though. The last couple of weeks I've been on podcast after podcast, and traveling to FFL corporate and everything else. And it's been really a blessing to kind of, give back what I've been taught the last several years here. One of the things that I think is a huge step that gets missed a lot when we do this business. So many agents are doing things on a transactional basis that they just close a deal, move on, close another, move another, lose a sale or there. It happens a lot. And here's what I've also noticed is there's so many steps that are missed in uncovering money, especially when it comes to investments on the financial worksheet. A lot of you guys are not doing the right things, in my opinion, and it's causing you guys to not be profitable enough in the long-term run. And it's also causing you guys to not maintain a proper relationship with your clientele, whether you're doing it in person or whether you're doing it on Zoom or in telesales. It's the same thing, the same approach. Now, one of the things that the biggest thing is, and I know Linda Lampasso does a really good job. She uncovers a lot of annuity opportunities. She's done a phenomenal job. I've known her for quite many years now, and we've had a pleasure of going to Athena at one point in time and really learn from them hands-on. But uncovering the financial worksheet and uncovering the financial problem is truly going to create a foundation for you as far as becoming not only just I would say a sales agent, but also like a relationship-based agent so that you have a client for life. What I've been doing, for the last 6, 7 years is really now unfolding for me what I'm doing with policy reviews, because I've uncovered things through the financial worksheet way back in the day. And when you start, going through things, and I'm gonna share with you guys what I use. I think it's simple. If anybody wants it, I can send it to Jamie, and you guys can, download it and use it yourself. This is the same worksheet that I've used for 7 years. It has not changed. There's different ones out there, but I just like simplicity. And what this worksheet really uncovers is everything from, and I just put my logo up there if, because I do stuff in home. I get their financial stuff, all their medical stuff, and then the big thing right here, current life insurance and other financial things right here on the bottom. And I ask this question every time. I know most of the stuff in the back of my head just because I've been doing it for so much, so I can do things on the fly. But if I'm sitting with a pretty big important meeting, I will use this and I will ask all the details. And in order to understand where you're headed to with clients, is you have to understand what is at stake when it's lost. Here's an example. I was just with a client and I had a brand new agent shadow me the other day. His name's Trevor. He's getting ready to rock and roll here with us as well. We went in the field the other day and I had a annuity review. And what we found out was that individual person, she's 66, she's about to lose $1,600 worth of income per month because of some kind of disability or whatever she's expiring on. This lets us know that, hey, I have this other annuity that's just kind of losing its money. So we called the other annuity company on the spot, figured out it's variable, and she can't start it until next May, like every anniversary. Now, that's a big problem. So immediately, as soon as we left the appointment, I called somebody over at F&G in the annuity department, and then we kind of figured out we can combine the two into two different products and create lifetime income out of it. I was like, this is genius. So now we're going back on Wednesday to potentially put everything into one place. But this wouldn't happen if you don't run the worksheet. And I always ask, here's my approach on every appointment. I find out what their income is. If it's a husband and wife, find out who makes the most. If it's a retired couple, find out who has the largest Social Security to two, because only the largest will stay behind. Find out if there's a pension. Pensions typically have, if my roof gets ready to blow off, holy moly, find out if there's a pension. And if a pension has a survivorship benefit, 0, 50%, or 100%, that is very important. People need to understand what's at loss here. It's quick and easy to say, We can get you mortgage protection, IUL, here it is, let's sign you up, ready to go. Next thing you know, they don't understand it, they cancel it. My goal is retention. If you look at my retention from 2019, 18 was my trial year, 2019 and beyond, I'm almost at 95% retention with all of my clientele because I'm very thorough of helping them understand the financial losses and why we have the solution, not the product, the solution. I use the word solution to literally patch the wound that they're bleeding from. And then I go into details what other forms of financial assets they may or may not have in place that would help them buy financial time. Hey, Jamie, in the event that you passed away yesterday, what other financial assets is your family able to inherit on your behalf? 401k, mutual funds, TSP, Roth, checking account, savings account. Well, we have savings account. We have 300 grand in a savings account. Great. Who's the beneficiary? What do you mean? You need to have a beneficiary in a bank account to be able for them to inherit. Otherwise, it goes into probate. Understanding probate laws. Every state's a little bit different, but whatever states you're working in, understand how probate works and what's at stake there. See, these are the things that people do not understand. We had another meeting the other day with a gentleman who I'm potentially going to go back for an annuity opportunity. I'm trying to explain to him what's at stake here because he can't get life insurance because he had a stroke or heart condition. He's on congestive heart failure meds. He has to wait until he's 50 to get at least a GIWL product. See, these are the things you have to explain. It's easy to make the money, but a lot of you guys are not retaining your clientele for the long term. You guys are in it for the short. Sale, pay. Oh, life is great. I get it. I like money too, but I want relationships so I can go back in the future and talk to them more. So this is such a crucial, like,
did we lose him, guys?
Yeah.
Is he breaking up? Okay, hold on.
He's muted.
give me 1 second.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Sorry, thing gives me a headache. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you perfect. Yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to connect to this, but it keeps bumping in and out.
Nope, you're good. You were saying relationships.
Yeah, so I'm all about relationship building because this business is not just on a transaction basis, it's long-term relationship building. Whether you have clients in your home state, in your backyard, or whether you have clients in a different state on the other side of the country, none of that matters. I can call clients that I've helped in different states where I lived at, and I still have relationships with those people. They remember me because I'm very thorough when it comes to this. This is a specific tool that you cannot miss out on. And what it's going to end up happening is long term, if you're in this business for the long haul, you want to have people to go back to and do things and review with. I went recently to an individual who wrote an Americo policy in 2020. Well, I ended up improving his coverage because he had a continuation. We switched it to an IUL, but his wife's like, hey, I have this 401k I'm losing money on. What do I do with it? And I'm like, we can help you. That's an appointment from 4 years ago. I didn't pay for that lead twice. I paid for it once, 4 years back. So I basically renewed his stuff, got him into a better policy long-term, and she's now protected from market losses in her, old 401k. See, these are the things I look for. Historical transactions, not on the spot. It's great when we get paid right away, but how many times can I go back and help these people? So finding the money is very crucial. Understanding their income loss, like, is probably the number one thing that you have to explain to people. What income is going to be lost when you die tomorrow? And what's kept on the survivorship benefit? This is very important. People want to know two things when they buy life insurance. What's it going to cost? And is it going to pay when I die? That's it. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about your dog. They don't care about your family. They care about those two things. This is an emotional lead. It's an emotional request. And they know that we have the solution based on that request. Thank you, Veronica, for posting that worksheet in the chat. That's the exact one I have. But this is an emotional request. We need to understand this emotion, right? So here's my philosophy when I sit with clients. When somebody fills a lead out,
they pretty much have like a cut on their wrist, right? They're bleeding. They're starting to bleed, right? My goal is to go in there and take a razor blade and cut them wide open to the point of death. Literally, that's my philosophy behind the lead. I need to cut them open to the point, hey, I need help. I got to prevent this bleeding, because they know I have the patch and the stitches to put it back on the wrist to figure the solution out for them. So if they're bleeding to the point of death financially, I need to uncover that. And essentially, what's going to happen is they're going to trust me, because I've discovered the problems along the way. If they have children, young children that are used to living in a specific school district, how's that going to impact the kids if one of the parents dies, God forbid? Do they have to move out of the school district? Do they have to change neighborhoods? Do they have to sleep on a floor to figure things out if there's not enough financial backup? Or, hey, Mark, how about we leave $1 million policy behind, for example, that's going to avoid all of that so your family can move forward in the same exact lifestyle you guys have created together. This is what we ask. This is exactly how we ask a lot of these things. You know, I sat with a guy on Friday morning, and I'm telling you, we spent 2 hours with him. I'll just let him talk, right? Because he was explaining the situation with his kids and all that stuff. I was like, well, this is what's going to happen if you don't leave this behind for your kids. He had a $20,000 policy already and everything. I was like, if you don't shelter this, they can't keep the house. It's going to go into probate. They're not on the deed. Like, it doesn't just, like, do you think Bank of America is going to give them the house if they're not on the deed? No, they're going to come seize the property and auction it. It goes back in the market, and all the equity that's tied with it, that's what the bank gets to keep. So number one, here's what if you're working mortgage leads, right? You need to understand who's on the deed. If a husband and a wife are on the loan together, perfect. If the husband were to die, the wife continues the loan, nothing changes, right? Because they apply together. What if the husband is the only one on the loan, but the wife's not on the loan or on the deed? She needs to be on the deed. Number two, they need to get a trust. He needs to find an attorney and get a trust. This is so important for them to understand. A trust prevents probate. How do they get a trust? Well, go to avo.com and search for an attorney. I just typed the website in. It's a search engine for local attorneys in their backyard. They need to talk to an attorney.
If they sign up, if they sign up through Legacy Safeguard, they also can help them find it too. Yeah.
There you go.
So it's a perfect segue. Yep.
Perfect. There we go. We have so this is what they need to understand. That trust is going to help them put their assets in one place so the banks can't touch it until they financially figure things out. Then when they get a policy through you for, let's say, mortgage protection, they can then name the trust the beneficiary, so the trust pays everything for them. Less headaches for the surviving spouses or children in this case, right? Any of those things, they have to understand, because it's quick and easy to say, yeah, well, we can protect your mortgage, 200 grand. Let's get you this IUL. It's great. Living benefits, cash value, done, sold, boom. Guess what? Few months later, they cancel. That's not my goal. I'm sorry. My goal is long-term retention. So I will spend time with them if I need to. I don't mind spending time with them, whether it's on phone, on Zoom, or in person. Primarily, I do a lot of my things in person. Yes, I have no problem spending time, but I will find out in the first 5 minutes how serious they are of a buyer. And then I'll go more into the financial worksheet. What savings did I have? How does that work? What kind of funds did I have? Here's a great tip for some of you guys who are running those big customized IULs. Find out what they're contributing in their 401k and what is their company matching them. If they're putting in if the company's matching 5%, but they're putting in 10, why are they risking the other 5 on the volatility of the market and not allocate that 5% into an IUL with you if they're healthy enough? Free budget. See, these are things I've learned back in 2018. A lot of you guys are new to IULs. I've done it since 2018. I can customize an IUL from day one because we were taught to allocate funds when they're already using it. And then you can find the extra budget when you need to. All these little things that you can do, but right here, this is everything all right here. And then, helping them understand the value of reviews in the future. Okay. This is another good thing that I do a lot of. I'll go back from like 3, 4, 5 years ago because certain products we didn't have access to that didn't exist. So I will call them back. If I see somebody that has a term policy, they need something better. and hence simplified issue IUL with either America or Mutual with living benefits that could be converted. Find out what their budget is. I've had clients who I've written policies 4 years ago, and I kept them within a budget because they just bought a house 4 years ago. Now that they've been settled in there for a while, they understand their income. I recently increased quite a lot of policies because of that. We changed the policies, higher premium, better benefits, and they see the value and they trust in me because I'm already the guy from 4 years ago. So if you've been here in this game for a little while, like I know there's a handful of you guys who've been doing this for 3 to 4, 5 years, pause your leads and just do reviews. I can sit down. If I sit down honestly right now and don't buy a single lead, I can probably close another 200 to 300 grand easily just on reviews, easily. But I don't do that. I like to work new clients so I can build my relationships up. I'll still do my reviews, multiple times throughout the week, and I'll continue on so I have something to look forward to and work on. But I'm telling you, if you have a book of business that's solid, I mean, you can literally work that for a whole month and not stress finances. Because
what would you say? What do you say to your client when you're calling them for that review?
Yeah, so my conversation is very simple. I'll say, hey, Jamie, this is Dean, your insurance agent from a few years ago. Not sure if you still remember me or not, but I came out to your house and I put together a policy to protect your mortgage. They're like, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, how you been? I was like, I've been doing great. Living life, doing all the good stuff. But hey, I just wanted to give you a quick call. Your policy is actually up for annual review with me. It's been a little while. I do apologize. It's been crazy, but I wanted to come out and schedule a time with you and see if we can review this. Or if you're doing something out of the state over the phone, we have some really good options that could get you more benefits for the same cost, or potentially increase the amount of coverage for the same cost you're already used to paying to the premiums to the company for. I want to, talk to you about those options. You interested in hearing about them? Oh yeah, perfect. Let's do it. And I'll schedule a time, whether it's on the phone or in person. Real easy approach. And then I'll go through the same financial worksheet all over again, because I don't know what changed in those last few years. And now, like with Prosperity kind of closing its door on doing insurance, I mean, I've converted quite a lot of Prosperity policies, the term policies, to IULs because of it. See, there's a lot of opportunity we have when you work in the business. I know for some of you new guys, it's going to take some time to develop that, but for some of us veterans here, we can do that, and you can uncover a lot. Referrals. Referrals are probably one of the nicest way to get business, and you don't even have to ask permission for much of it. If you're writing a policy on somebody, let's say Jesse writes a policy on Bob, and Bob wants to put his brother as a beneficiary. Hey, Bob, if you don't mind, I'm going to call your brother just to make sure he understands that I'm your agent in case something happens to you. You can contact me right away so I can make sure the claim gets paid out. What's a good phone number I can give him a call on? Jesse's going to call Bob's brother and say, hey, Mark, I just talked to your brother, Bob. This is Jesse. I just closed up. I just helped him with a life insurance policy, and he named you the beneficiary. I wanted to make sure that you have my contact information. And also, Bob thought that you might be a great fit to get a policy for yourself as well, just in case something happens to you. Assuming the sale right on the spot. Free leads. I don't have to do the whole, can I get 3 references? You already have a reference. Beneficiaries are one of the greatest ways to get policies on. Especially if you have permission to call them and let them know that, hey, you're the agent for their relative. If, a mom's leaving stuff for their children, adult children, great, call them right away. As soon as you hang up the phone, let them know that you're their agent for their parents to save the information. This is like easy stuff that anybody can implement at literally no cost. And it's going to increase your profitability, and it's going to increase your volume of clientele you have for life.
Love it. How do you keep these client worksheets? Do you keep like some sort of organizational system? Like, do you just keep them all in a file cabinet? Like, how do you know, like, kind of who, do you have a CRM? Like, what do you do that like kind of reminds you and keeps it organized so you have our information for later, so it kind of jogs your memory about, or do you just go through like Americo's site and pick them out that way? Like, how do you know who you're supposed to be calling?
Great question. So I used to like back in the day, I used to literally file everything, and then I realized I have too much paperwork to file. So carrier sites are one of the ways, but primarily as soon as I close a deal, I use Google Calendar for everything. I will put like a little check mark. I'll put the premium amount, the carrier, because I already have all the information on there, their address, their birthday, everything's already in the little calendar when we book the appointment. So I can go back and reference from a year ago what I've sold and see, oh, I helped this guy out. Let me give him a call real quick, see how he's doing. Or from 2 years ago. Google Calendar will track everything for you automatically. If you want to go a little bit in depth and use the CRM and all that stuff, great. But for me, like I like to like just do it quick and efficient. So as soon as I leave the appointment, I go on my phone, Google Calendar check mark, or if it's a no-show, I put a red X beside it and I write big bold letters no-show so my dialer can call them the next day and reschedule. Or if it's a no sale, I'll put down no sale. Well, can't afford it or can't qualify or did not want the coverage, and that way we don't have to call them anymore in the future. Or if there's another lead, sometimes I get duplicate leads because I run a lot of retro stuff. My dialer will search for the name on the calendar first to make sure we didn't have that appointment before, so we don't have the double booking on that as well. Google Calendar is great. It really keeps you organized especially when you're doing it in a fast pace.
Yeah, love it. Love that. That's a great tip.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about back to those annual reviews. When you finally, set an appointment, chat with them later, you're obviously going back through your client worksheet, but some of the things you quote unquote kind of already know because you saw them. Do you just kind of like, hey, you started off by just like updating kind of what they already have and then going through like maybe some other needs, or how do you discern like when there's more of a need?
So what I do is basically, again, life changes for people. I don't know if their income change, if their jobs change or whatever, but my goal is to make sure that they're still comfortable with the amount of coverage they got initially. And I ask them, like, hey, look, I know we got you this policy at at this time frame due to certain budget concerns, but I really wanted to talk to you about potentially improving your policy so you have more benefits in case something happens to you while you're still living. Because some of these other companies, they don't have strong enough benefits, like either 25 or 50% living benefits. I'm an advocate for America. I love selling them because they do have up to 100% value of the living benefits. And now that they brought the IUL into the business, it's really a game changer across the board because why? And it's cost cheaper than most plans. So why not try to help them save money and get them the same amount of face amount cover that they had before for a little less cost, but long term. See, these are the things I'll look at. So before I do any phone calls, I'll compare their current plan to what we can potentially do, and then I'll give them a call. If I can't improve it, I don't bother with it as much. I'll still give them a courtesy call, and I'll find out, if there's an annuity opportunity, for example, or whatever the deal is. But for the most part, sometimes they're hard because of whatever age. 4 or 5 years later, they're older, premiums are higher. I don't want to put them in a worse position than what it is, unless it's something that I'm improving. Let's say going from a guarantee issue product to a level product, for example, with some partial living benefits like the Living Promise or the Eagle Premier. So I look at that in detail before I do anything. So I'll compare from start to finish before I even pick up the phone and call them. And the second thing I do is too, like some of you guys have dialers and you give everything to a dialer. Like I call my clients myself. I don't give anybody else that permission because they're my client. I help them. I close them. They have a relationship with me, not my assistant. My assistant's only responsible for booking new appointments so I can establish that relationship. So in essence, I want to be busy in that aspect, especially when it comes to annuities and stuff, right? I don't want anybody else touching that. That's mine because I know what I did. I know how I structured it. I know how to approach the conversation. So it's important for me to get my hands, dirty with that phone call instead of somebody else. So my advice is if you are running like VAs or personal dialers or anything like that, any reviews you should do yourself, in my opinion, because it's going to create so much more credibility for you as the agent that's already representing them.
Love it.
Pretty safe.
Yeah. Let's segue into a little bit of this, the financial inventory. Let's just say as you're going through it, you're asking them, obviously they understand whose income's going to be gone, what, survivorship benefits, what they have, You went through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've helped them with what they requested, right? Which was the mortgage protection or whatever it is that they filled out the form for. How do you then, what is your word tracks to segue into potentially protecting any lump sums of funds that they have maybe sitting somewhere else?
Well, number one, if I'm working with somebody, I want to find out what their financial goals are long term. If somebody, for example, says, well, I still have a 401k, I'm contributing, and let's say they're 60 years of age, I know that we can start moving a percentage over, if not all of it. I give them the value on protecting a certain amount. So let's say I have a 65-year-old Jamie that's still working, actively contributing into a 401k. And I ask him, hey, have you thought about when you're going to retire? Like, what's your goal? Like, you're 65 now. How much more do you plan on working? Maybe 5 more years. Okay. What are you looking to do with your retirement at that point in time? Because given the fact that we're in a year where it's election year, markets are probably going to go down even more before we start a new year. Like, what have you thought about that? So I'll throw that out there, and I'll ask him, well, what happened, let's say this past year when the markets were very volatile up and down? Like, how did that impact your money? Because people watch their money. That's the number one thing, fear of loss. Everybody's fear of loss, especially as we're getting close to retirement. We want to try to figure out, what do we have left? And then I'll make a suggestion. Well, Jamie, here's what we can do. And I really want to, present something to you that's going to protect your money. But I think somewhere around 65%, because you're 65 years of age, to allocate it into what's called a fixed index annuity account is going to help you shelter your retirement longer, so that you can still contribute in the remaining 35% of your 401k while you're still working for the next 5 years. But 65 is already, secured. If the market, let's say 500,000 in your 401k, but if the market goes down 30%, for example, you're taking a hit on 30% on 500,000. But if you move 65% and the 35% is left, taking a loss of 30% on the remaining amount hurts a lot less than on the bigger amount combined. Make sense? So I always explain that, point to them in that scenario, because that can happen. I don't know, but I know we can shelter it. And then they usually listen, and then I'll come back and bring an illustration, make a suggestion based on their financial goals, so that they can start pulling money out when they're ready to do so. But it's all about allocating a certain percentage. Now, if someone has a 401k, let's say I meet with them 3 or 4 years later, they're now parted ways from that job, 100%, we need to move it, because they need a new home for it. Because right now they're going to charge them fees to manage it at the old 401k company. It's going to be volatile, and the company is going to make more money on the overhead on their lump sum than anything else. And these are the things I started to educate myself back, 4 or 5 years ago. How does that work on a transactional basis for them, not for me, so that I can make sure that they understand what we can do and how we can shift direction when it comes to their money. And that's usually what I do. I make a recommendation based on their age percentage, like 65% if they're 65, 70% if they're 70, whatever the case may be. Unless they want to do the whole thing, be my guest, but I never recommend taking, everything and moving it. I'm not that greedy.
I like it. And if you guys, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but he's using word tracks that are very visual. Like he said, shelter those funds. Everybody knows what it's like to be sheltered in place, right? To shelter from like a storm. He also says allocated into a new home. Everybody knows what it's like to move into something new. So use some of these word tracks that are visual for people, that people can actually see. Because just having money in some sort of account is like paper to them. But when they can visually see like verbiage, when you use verbiage this way, where they can actually see like it in their mind, it tends to help this transaction happen a little bit smoother. So start to pick up some of these tracks and terminology when you're starting to talk to people. Even when you said, when people talk to you about how much they're contributing right now to their 401k, and if they're actively contributing, and if they're getting that match, and if they're only getting a match up to a certain amount, reallocating those to some funds that are obviously able to, gain more, that's crucial.
It is. And that's one of the things that I've learned my very first year here is, if someone's over contributing that the company's not matching on, why are we risking the rest of it on a volatility? And you're taking the risk, not the company. And I explain it to them, like, are you aware that you're the one taking the risk on the remaining 5% and they're not contributing it with you? Like, why are you doing that when I can help you allocate it into something more secure, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. So then now you have diversification in your retirement, right? It's all about word track. It's psychological. People pay attention to certain words. Like, that's why I don't use the word product. I say solution. Mm-hmm. It just makes way more sense. This solution, Bob, is going to protect your home, not this product. They don't care about a product. They care about how much is it going to cost, if it's going to pay when I die. Well, great. My job is, like I said earlier, is cut the wound wide open so I can patch that bleeding and put stitches on it permanently. That's my goal. But it's based on a solution to cover their losses. Hey, Bob, this solution here is going to pay your house off and your wife's going to have $200,000 to live off of. This solution is going to help put your kids through college if you die. This solution is going to do this. This solution here is going to pay for your funeral if they're up to 30,000, with potentially leaving some additional inheritance behind. Not money, inheritance. Different word tracks. Legacy. People care about legacy, not about money. Inheritance. See, these are the things that you learn if you take your time with people. Don't be transactional. I get it. We all want to get paid, but transactions are giving you missed opportunities that you question, like, man, what did I do wrong? Or if you don't close the deal, whatever the case may be. That's why I'm like patient. I will sit with somebody for 3 hours as long as I have their trust, because they're telling me their life story, whatever the case may be. In the first 5 minutes, I need to find out how serious they are. And that's by telling them what it is, how I do, and what I do, and how I'm going to protect their home, for example, because I do a lot of mortgage, right? Or protect their kids. And a lot of you guys are running final expense. I'm going to give you one of the best final expense tips that you guys should be able to take away and start implementing it right away. Painting the picture of reality for their beneficiary, not for the person that's getting the policy, but for the person that they care the most about. Now, anybody want to do a quick role play?
I can.
Perfect. So, Jamie, let's say you fill a lead out, and I'm sitting with you. And my first thing is I want to find out a couple of things. Hey, Jamie, when you took your time to send this request in, how long have you been looking for this coverage, and who do you care about the most, and what scares you the most?
Well, I keep putting it off, but I know I'm not getting any
You keep
younger.
putting off. Any reason why? Any reason why you've been putting it off for so long?
I don't know. I guess I just didn't want a new bill.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this: who's going to be the one person to pick up the burdens when you pass away unexpectedly?
Well, I guess my kids would handle that.
Your kids? How old are your kids?
35 and 37.
Okay. So I'm assuming you seem like you're pretty responsible. I'm assuming you have a secret spot in the house or some kind of safe where you keep all your precious belongings and documents and things like that. Is that true?
Yeah, kind of.
Perfect. Got it. If your kids were to discover or learn about you passing away, how long would it take them to find out you're no longer on this earth?
Pretty quick.
Pretty
They
quick.
call me every day.
They call you every day. Got it. So assuming they call you, you don't pick up the phone. Are they going to assume that there's a death in the household, or are they going to assume that you're just busy and tied up and running errands?
I mean, for the first probably 3 hours, maybe. After that, they're probably going to be knocking on my door.
Got it. What do you think their reaction will be? Is it when they go through your private belongings and they find out there's no life insurance policy there?
They'd probably be a little frustrated with me.
Got it. Do you think they're financially prepared to take that burden, take money out of the savings, or potentially take a loan out to pay for the burial and your final expenses?
Probably not.
Probably not. So before we hang up the phone today, Jamie, my job is real simple. We're going to make sure they find a policy in that drawer where you keep all your personal belongings. Sound fair enough?
Yeah, I need
Perfect.
to get done.
Here's what my process is going to look like. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to talk about your income and other financial losses that may be impacting your kids. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes to talk about your medical history. It's going to really help me understand where I can place you. Not every company approves the same. It's not a one size fits all, but I'm going to do my very best to make sure that I can pick the top 3 that are potentially going to be 95% or higher of approval rating. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to spend some time with you asking very detailed questions about your current and past medical conditions and any type of medications you may or may not have had or currently are on. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Once we discover which company is going to potentially take you on, we're going to submit a request for coverage, not application. Please stop using the word application. Request for coverage.
Okay.
It sounds way more professional. Okay. We're going to submit over a request for coverage because we need to see who's going to say yes. Okay. Here's what the insurance company is going to want me to provide on your behalf. Number 1, your social, because they're going to pull your full prescription history through the MIB database. That's the Medical Information Bureau. The second thing you're going to want to know is your driver's license number, just to make sure that, hey, you're not out there street racing, pulling a Vin Diesel, doing Fast and Furious and doing reckless driving. messing up with neighborhoods. And number three, how are you going to provide the premium to them through a checking or savings account? Do you have any questions about my process, Jamie, before we begin?
No, I don't think so.
I just eliminated all the objections. You're welcome. You see how simple that is? It's just a conversation. There shouldn't be any flustering. A lot of people get flustered if you start asking to social, or, you know, you guys don't tell this, especially on telesales. You have to be able to explain them what the process looks like, especially for like senior citizens. They don't know. They just want help. So you have to explain it. Here's what my process looks like from start to finish. Do you have any questions about it? If there is a question, address it, and then build confidence around that. Stop saying the word product, use solution. Stop saying the word application, say request for coverage. And stop saying bank information. How are you going to pay them? Through a check? How are you going to pay your premium? Through a checking or savings account. Now they know it's either a checking or savings account, not a debit card, not, you know, Cash App or Venmo or Zelle. You know, when you set these expectations, that's when magic happens, because you're guiding them in the direction, right? And then you send you over your credentials, right? Make sure that you're selling, you know, send them. Everybody should have some kind of digital business card. For a lot of you guys doing telesales, Haystack is a really good option. It's free. You can download Haystack and create everything. That's what I use when I do some telesales here and there. And then also sending over some kind of credentials at the very end, showing them that what they got approved for. I've shared this before. I put those two sheets with the, you know, the policy description, the carrier, and then a beneficiary claims form right beside it, and I emailed it. And then I make sure they receive it before we hang up. And then here's what you do too on top of that in the last 30 seconds when you do hang up the phone. For those of you guys doing telesales, guess what? We all have cell phones, right? How many of you guys post your selfies on social media? Not many. How many of you guys like to post reels? Probably a handful. But how many of you guys do not do this? Hey, Jamie, this is Dean. I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to help you protect your family today. This is my personal cell phone number. If you need anything ever, please call me. Save my phone number. By the way, I'm a real person just like you. I hope you have a great day. Send a video. Done.
Oh, I love that. Dude, that's good.
Policy retention goes up. Why? Because you become more personal.
Yeah, you're human. Just a human helping a human.
That's it.
Love that.
You guys don't do these steps. And this is why when you guys would get chargebacks, you get frustrated. I don't get many chargebacks, maybe one or two a month. And they're very rare. Maybe. Because I do all the right things. Mostly I do stuff in person, but when I do stuff through virtual platforms, I do the same thing. I thank them. I send everything. I talk to them. I did one thing. I sent a picture of this lady with my two little dogs. They're like, oh my God, they're so cute. I know Shakia sent a picture of her dog. She got an appointment out of it. I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah. So these are the
People
things.
love dogs.
Of course, but
Dogs
these are the
amazing.
little things. These are the little things that people don't want to do because we think transactional. Because I get it, but take your time.
Yeah.
It's not a race. It's a marathon. It's a long-term run, right?
Yeah.
So the more you do these little things, the better of a quality you're going to deliver to your prospects. And nobody's a client until they sign up. They're just prospects until they sign up, right? So that's my approach, Jamie. I hope it helps somebody here tonight. I mean,
hopefully everyone was taking notes. Hopefully, I want everybody to take their notes, and I want you to just circle 2 or 3 things that you are going to implement tomorrow. Please, by God, I don't even care if it's a selfie video. Please circle 2 or 3 things you are going to implement tomorrow. One little plug that I want to give, and Dean, thank you so much. This was amazing. Dean is on the SRS team, guys. We have him here on our team, but he's also on the SRS team. What that really means is if you're someone who's finding and uncovering money when you're going through your financial inventory, you can use Dean. Like, you can use him. He can help you through your first few. Okay, so just understand all of this. Understand how all of that works. You all have access to him. You can find him in their cell phone, in the groups, and all the places. He's everywhere. Yeah. But just understand, this is what you have here at FFL National. You have people that will help you, that strive and want to serve the team. So I just wanted to, kind of put that little caveat out there, because you guys do such a great job with
And
you.
I just did. I mean, if you guys want to refresh some of this stuff, I mean, literally a week ago, I mean, this past week, they released a podcast I did at corporate. I talked a lot about this stuff, both on the True Talk and the TNL portion of the annuities. I covered a lot about annuities and SRS on how to use that and utilize it in the
They
TNL.
literally just pushed it out. They just pushed it out to my email at 6:01.
Yep. Yeah, so
It's out.
use that. I mean, it's going to help you guys. You know, I volunteered to go back up there to talk more about annuities because I've done, you know, so many annuities. I was just talking to Frank last night, Jamie. I think I'm right around 9 million in my career here with FFL with annuities, which is crazy. And I talked specifically. I volunteered. I called Mike Size. I was like, "Hey, Mike, can I come up there?" He goes, "Sure, we'll book everything for you. Let us know what dates." And I talked specifically how to do these certain approaches because it's going to help somebody.
Yeah.
You know, we're transitioning as a company to so many people doing a virtual platform. We need to be able to make sure that it's maintainable long term, not just short term. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where the money is. Yeah.
This is your career. This isn't a job where you're going to leave it in, 30 days, 90 days, a year. This is a career.
Yeah.
You got to treat it that way. Well, thank you so much. This is one of those ones that people are going to want to listen to over and over and over again. Implement right away. Like, don't wait around and think about implementing the inventory sheet. Don't wait around and think about implementing these word tracks. Like, put sticky notes in places so you start to, doing these things. Don't, forget about your little selfie video to connect with your client. Like, do it now. Like, do it tomorrow. Circle it. Make sure you start being very intentional, and you'll start to see this stuff start, just increasing. So thank you so much, Dean, for jumping on this call. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Appreciate
my pleasure. You're welcome, guys. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of the evening. If anybody has any questions, feel free to message me. I'll be more than happy to spend some, a few minutes with you guys and one-on-one if you have questions about anything.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Have a good week. Hey, guys, don't forget
night.
SRS on Thursday at noon. And then TNL is on Friday. So talk to you guys soon.